Hi there, today we're taking a look at an Apple II Plus emulator I created mostly for myself, which has a lot of nice developer features. It can boot ProDOS volumes from SmartPort, things like Total Replay. It does not have Disk 2 support. But the real utility of this comes in when you press the F2 key to reveal the debugger. So it has a CPU window with all the things you would expect, and then it has a disassembly window where you can examine the code, step into, step out of, step over. You can set breakpoints and you can run to the program counter. One of the biggest features of this though is that it has a built-in assembler. So if I press Ctrl-Shift-A, I bring up a dialog which allows me to configure an assembler project. So Manic Miner in this case. I do want to reset the stack. I don't want to auto run. I happen to know that this will assemble to 6000. And when I press Ctrl-A, immediately it assembled all of that code. So that was over 12,000 lines of assembly language code in several files assembled in 13 milliseconds. So when we look at the assembly code, you will see that it has these labels, and all of these are present in the assembly output here. It was populated in the emulator. You can also look up symbols by pressing Ctrl-S. All the symbols that the emulator knows about show up in this list. So it reads a couple of files, 3 files at startup, a2 basic, and Apple IIe, and one called user, and also the assembler populates its own symbols under the assembler classification. So all of these things are classified as where they come from and then what they are. You can search also by, if I say I want to search by level, any label that has the word level in it now shows up. So let's take screen draw level. As soon as I click on that, it opens the debugger to that. And I'm going to set a breakpoint on that, and you'll see it put a little symbol there, or it shows up in red. It also populated the first line here with the address, and if I say view PC, it'll take me back to it. So over here, let me set another breakpoint, and I'm going to edit the second breakpoint. This one I'm going to say I want to break on an address on read only, and the address would be, which is the keyboard. I want to use a counter, and I want to read the keyboard 30 times before I break, and after that, every single time the keyboard is read, it must break. Alright, so we are at the start of the code, and when I run, you will see this counter show as it's reading the keyboard until it breaks. And this says it's a read breakpoint on this address, and there it is. It is broken on this. So I will clear this one, and I will just run the code, turn off the volume, start the game, and there we are at screen draw level. We can also see here is a call stack, and I can see where the first call came from. It was inside at going to the game loop, and it went to the game loop code. Inside that, we got to this point where we would draw at screen draw level, and we are in screen draw level where the breakpoint is. So there's a nice call stack. It's also worth noting that these step cycles will show you every instruction that is executed. The step cycle shows you, but if I step out, it shows you the total count of cycles that it took, 29,111 to finish screen draw level. So that's also good for profiling when debugging. Some of the other things in the miscellaneous window, you can configure all 7 slots to be SmartPort. I've only configured 1 here, and if I press this button, it reboots that device immediately. Alright, then there is also a display where I can say that I want to override the display and look at the text page, the low res, mixed modes, HDR, page 0 and 1. So this is very good for looking at the other side of the display when you're drawing off screen. And the language card shows you whether it's reading from RAM or ROM and which bank. And then lastly, we get to the memory window. Let's go to 6000, and let's take this one to 6000 as well. And over here, if I then put in zeros, you will see that it updates in the disassembly window immediately. You can also edit the text side. You can also find, so if I look for total, and you can find by hex or by string. You can also split the view because you only have one region, one page to look at. This way you can view multiple ranges, and you can split this up to 16 times. you'll see the first letter in front of the row says how to get to each of the views, and that's with Alt, so Alt 0, Alt 1. Control-Shift-J will join the window back to the one above. Each of these views now works completely independently, so you can set them up any way you want. That pretty much covers the emulator. Thank you for watching.